So what we want to know is, will the case against James Comey hold up in court? Joining me now is CNN legal analyst Joey Jackson. He's a criminal defence attorney and a former prosecutor. Thank you for joining us. I mean, how much do you know about Halligan?
Good to be with you, without question, Max. The answer is not much, and that's largely because she's a political appointee. I know she's a loyalist to the president. Certainly have no basis to disparage her. It's just that the manner in which things are run in the United States, if you're going to head the United States Attorney's Office, generally you have significant experience as a prosecutor. Because that's important, Max, with respect to engendering trust in the community at large, with regard to engendering trust with fellow prosecutors, and with regard to knowing that you have the dynamics in place in order to do the job and do it in a way that's not about retribution of enemies, but that's about following justice and achieving just outcomes. And so I know she's an attorney. I know that she's worked for the president. I know that she was on an agenda in terms of removing issues relating to slavery, because in the Smithsonian, apparently there was too much woke ideology, to use the president's terms. I know she was apparently an insurance lawyer. I know that, she certainly worked with the president on a classified documents case, but with regard to having really the gumption to be a prosecutor, I don't know that to be the case.
Yeah, so the key thing seems to be that she's close to the president. He trusts her. He wants her to prosecute this case, but she's going to be really tested, isn't she? I mean, Comey's extremely experienced in law. He's going to have a strong team around him, presumably. And it feels like he's actually up for this fight.
Well, I think he is. And I think that we've reached a dangerous place in American politics for a number of reasons. I mean, listen, if anyone transgresses the law, then of course they should be indicted. In our indictment system, just to be clear, an indictment is merely an accusation. It doesn't go to prove that you've done anything. It's the standard in the grand jury. 23 members of the community get together. A majority, simple majority of which, that would be 12, conclude that A, there's reasonable cause to believe that a crime was committed, and B, that the subject of that grand jury proceeding, namely Mr. Comey, committed it. I want to hasten to add that defense lawyers are not in the grand jury. You don't get to, as a defendant in the grand jury, as we look at the two counts there, defend yourself. And hence, Max, you've heard this before, a grand jury could indict a ham sandwich. I should note that there were 3 charges presented to the grand jury. She presenting him herself. That's unusual. Normally you have career prosecutors that are doing that, and they, that is the grand jury, declined to indict on one. So much for the ham sandwich. They didn't eat the whole ham sandwich. They just had 2 bites of it, not the third. That in and of itself is unusual. It's also unusual that you had career prosecutors writing a memo indicating that, hey, we don't have enough evidence to go forward. It's also unusual that a person was fired who headed the office because they didn't think it was appropriate to bring forward charges. It's also unusual that the president of the United States tweeted, or not tweeted, social media or Truth Social, him posting that, hey, I want to see this particular enemy, that is Comey, he named others, indicted. It's just really not the way the system of justice works and operates. It should be independent from the White House. Here we have clear indications that either you go forward with what I want you to do, otherwise you lose your job. And that's very troubling. It's also very sad. And quite frankly, demoralizing as a person who practices law and believes in the interest of justice and only justice.
Yeah, it's testing all of you, isn't it? But maybe we're getting too bogged down in the detail here. Isn't this a larger narrative that a test case almost for Donald Trump, that he can take out his opponents?
So I think that's a great point. I think if you want to talk about test cases, I think, it's incredible how the United States has shifted even in recent months. We've been in a situation where immigrants have been rounded up largely without due process. And in English, what that means is notice and an opportunity to be heard. Maybe you're here illegally, maybe you've done things wrong, but generally that's what courts are here to decide. You have to give a person the ability to have a hearing and go to court and make an assessment. Oh, not so fast, just get on a plane and get shipped out. We are in a situation where we have universities who are being told who they can hire in terms of faculty faculty, what students they could admit. It's really astonishing. We have money that's been allocated by Congress that has been impounded by this administration in terms of not being given to the actual interest groups that they were designated for because they disagree. So if you want to talk about a larger narrative, I think the narrative is not only with regard to can I prosecute my political enemies? And by the way, the statute of limitations on this prosecution, meaning the time in which you needed to do it, would have been this Tuesday. So 5 days before he gets indicted. If you want to talk about that larger narrative, Max, I think you have to talk about the shift in American politics. We are really moving to a system where we have a president who largely can do whatever he wants, and it seems that Congress is allowing him to do it. So it's scary times. We'll see how it plays out. I do think, just to get back in the weeds a second on Comey, I think that this case may not even see a courtroom. Certainly we'll see a courtroom, but in terms of me saying that, it's possible a judge throws it out before a jury. In the United States, there's this basis of law. It's called in the interest of justice. And judges get to decide. They are, in fact, one of the barriers to our system, right? And the guardrails to make a check on the system. And if a judge believes that this is a political prosecution, as we look there at the date of his arraignment on October 8th, the judge can throw out the case before it even sees the light of day. So we'll see what moves forward. I think his attorneys, Max, are going to have a lot to say, his being James Comey, as to whether this is a viable prosecution that should move forward, or is it one that's being done because of he's a president, he's the enemy of a president, and because of that, they're moving forward at that. Interest of justice matters. It's going to matter here, and I think it's going to matter more broadly to your question. Who else, if anyone, has gone after in this way where you're firing a U.S. attorney because they're not doing exactly what you want them to do? That's troubling.
Extraordinary times. Joey Jackson, thank you for bringing your thoughts on it.